Hello everyone and welcome to the Quake Pro League as we head into week number 6 and we've got some very spicy matches coming your way shortly. I'm Lethal, joining me is none other than Dan aka ZSX. Dan, how you doing mate? You're looking quite fabulous as always.
Oh, thank you, Lethal. It's been a while since I've been with you actually. Back in the finals actually, so no, been really good. Good to be back. You know, nearly approaching halfway through the season, so things are spicing up and I think people are settling into their groove now.
Yeah, certainly are indeed. We normally save our cast for the finals, don't we? As a little treat, but you know, the odds and ends sometimes we do just jump in here during the odd week or two during the regular season as well. And you know, talk about the match, you know, talking about the players and how they're shaping up so far. Of course, let's talk about last week's matches and the recap to see exactly how things unfolded. Of course, if you guys did only just join us this week and not witness what happened last week, a spicy affair indeed. We had a lot of 2-1s across the board, some close maps and a couple of upsets along the way with this first match between Xron and Razy.
Yeah, as would be expected, Razy has been playing really well this season. Obviously, we've got Hon coming up, I think, first today, and I think I expected a little bit more from him so far, but in context, he has played a lot of the players at the top of the leaderboard. Even still, he's been struggling in his season back in the QPL so far, and this was no change to that dynamic, as well as Razy walked away with that one 3-0. Big match up here with Kilson versus Chain, and we were just talking about it before broadcast, but Chain as well is somebody who came off a really strong season finals and just not found that consistency in the league. Again, it's very symptomatic of his performance in league play to date, and it's continuing to be a poor showing from Chain. Whereas Kilson, as one would expect, has been looking pretty glamorous throughout, but he has dropped a few maps here or there, which is something we didn't see as much from him last season.
Yeah, it's interesting with Chain. We normally see him take his weighted clothing off towards the last 8 weeks of the season going into the Quake finals, don't we? And as you can see, this is Nosfer versus Zeneku, where Nosfer actually took this 2-1, which was, through my eyes, a little bit of an upset considering how well Zen has been playing over the course of the last 6 to 12 months. And I must say, Nosfer played extremely well to bring it back. Of course, he lost that first map 14-8, won Molten in a very close affair indeed, 6-5, and just demolished the last one, 19-5, as Nos was just playing out of his skull towards that last portion of the map. And then, as we can see, going into Dramus and Strong Sage again. Strong Sage, we mentioned before, he's been scrimming a lot, not even before the Quake Pro League even started, but you can see that his scrims and his duels against Rafa and some of the other players have paid off over time. And he's really been a staple stone so far, and definitely a player to keep a very keen eye on.
Yeah, some people might think it comes as a bit of surprise, but as you rightly point out, we talk about it every week, he just grinds and grinds and probably is the most committed player in the league so far. I mean, Dramus is somebody I think everyone expected a lot from this season, but again, just hasn't got off to the start he would have wanted. So, want to see more from Dramus, but really good showing from Strong Sage. Then we have Sib versus Saigib, and Sib has found himself actually in the middle of the leaderboard, so he hasn't got a huge amount of victories on the board, but still doing enough to keep himself steady. And Saigib as well has been looking much better than he did last season, which is good for the American.
Certainly was indeed, and Saigib also got that first W to his name, which was great to see. And with Maxa versus Sirius, again, probably it's a bit of an upset for Maxa considering it's hard to say, considering how Max has been playing so far and just how he's been a trendsetter just on that trajectory, like going upwards and just performing so well, of course, placing third at the World Finals previously. And that's the thing with Sirius, one of the best aim duelists, of course, in the league. But of course, what the top players normally do with their veteran experience is to make him as uncomfortable as possible to not give him these opportunities. But in the end, Sirius did take that 2-1. And yeah, it was a great way to iron things out towards the end of last week.
It just shows the level that the league is at now, that everyone is competitive. And as you said, Sirius on a mechanical level is unparalleled, and he is somebody that just develops week on week. This was a massive matchup though in Rafa versus Avec, and it was very close to the end. That final map started to slip away from Avec, but it was just so back and forth. When Rafa dropping his first map of the season, I believe, so really well played by Avec, and unfortunately that he could turn that around to make it a 2-1 his way. But either way, a clash of the Titans and Rafa showing his prowess there to take that 2-1. But as you can see, only one 3-0, which is the expected one of the day. it is just where we're at now in the QPL, that it is competitive from top to bottom. All of these players, we've said, have been on the up and up. The Zenekus, the Maxes of the world, they're struggling a little bit, Norm, now just because of that level. Jamis, Strong Sage, again, a newcomer to the league, pushing his way through. He's only got a couple of series to date because he started quite late in the league and already looking really strong. So it is just laying up to be an incredible season already.
And you're talking about how competitive these matches have been for all these players, and it's more due to the fact that now it's not just for seeding they're playing for. Of course, if you do get top 8, of course, throughout the regular season, you go into day 2 of the group stages, avoiding group 1, or sorry, day 1 rather, considering the amount of players coming up from challenges. We already had CNZ qualify already. Europe has got to the grand finals twice, hasn't made it as of yet, but he may do in the other 2 global qualifiers or even the South American qualifiers, considering the circumstances as well. So it's going to be a tough nut to crack for a lot of these players. Of course, Garpi qualifying from the first one as well. And yes, like I said, it's more to play for, not just for the seeding, but day 2 is going to be super important to give himself a bit of a boost here, Dan, a bit of a head start.
I mean, that's a huge point. Like, nobody wants to be in that day 1 if they can avoid it. And you just been pointing out 2 incredible names already. People who have been in the QPL many seasons. It is not newcomers coming through this bracket. It is a mixture of newcomers and veterans. Garpi, CNZ, Sparty, all these players that got knocked out could be there to reclaim their place. So anyone wanting to avoid that day 1 has to step up their game now, because in the middle to this of this leaderboard in QPL, it is very messy, very few points separating these players. So it really is a case of we're getting to that point where every map counts. And with the amount of 2-1s going either way, if somebody can sneak a 3-0 here or there, it can really push them way up on the leaderboard. So exciting times, Lethal. Really exciting.
So indeed, you know me, Dan, love a bit of chaos, me, a bit of mayhem, as it could get or continue to be messaged during these next set of matches coming up today. We've got a lovely schedule for you all to see exactly what is going to be coming up throughout the course of today. So first match of the day is going to be Sirius versus Xron, and then this match in particular, I'm very curious with Strong Sage and Kilson, just due to the fact that we've both been discussing how Strong Sage has been performing very well. He's, like you said, one of the biggest grinders and strongest work ethic so far from what we've seen over the last 12 months. So have to see what Kilson can do against Strong Sage, but more, what can Strong Sage do against Kilson? And Rafa versus Zen, another classic matchup in itself. And of course, the rest of the matches throughout the day, nothing short of spectacular.
Yeah, the ones I'm looking out for are exactly ones you pointed out. Strong Sage, really keen to see him progressing. Like, everyone's going to expect Kilson to walk away with that one, but I definitely wouldn't put it past Strong Sage to take at least a map. And equally, Zen versus Rafa. Zen's been looking good, not quite as sharp as last season, but he has all of that experience now as much as skill set to push Rafa to the wire. I think even in the past he's taken the set away from Rafa, so that's a big one. And then later in the day, obviously we're looking towards that Tox versus Wenger matchup. Wenger's been looking on form so far this season. Tox's been finding his feet, but also he's been looking a lot sharper than his previous escapades in the league. So really exciting to see how that one plays out. It's going to be action-packed no matter what we look at, but we are starting on Sirius versus Xron, and Sirius has been looking really good so far. Xron's not so much. As I mentioned, I want to see more from him because he is well respected, he's got all the skills, he's very creative, he's just not been able to string all of that together, and the results are showing for it.
Yeah, he's got all the tools in the shed, Dan, but yeah, you are right though. Once he puts those pieces together, it could be an entirely different story. Of course, looking back at the World Championships and how he just flew through that losers bracket and managed to get such a high placement. It shows that he can establish himself, he's got the potential to do it, but it just depends how much he's going to grind in between throughout the season, of course, leading into the Quake World Championships this year as well. And for Sirius, he's been looking fabulous, hasn't he, just in general, like not just his aim skill, but he has adapted quite well as well. And I think he knows his weaknesses in terms of some of the players trying to make him feel as uncomfortable as possible with some of the angles he tries to get with his aim skill. But we'll see what Xron can do in comparison to what some of the other players have done against Sirius in the past. But look at that, Dan. We've got the maps, got the champions. What do you think, mate? What do you think?
So starting up on Blood Covenant, we've got the Nyx versus the Anarchy, and almost probably the most classical pairing on Blood Covenant. I think if you think back all the way to the first stages of Quake Champions, these were the picks you would play. So as you would expect there, a bit more aggression coming out on the Anarchy, much more about the methodical positional play. That definitely suits Sirius. I'm actually favouring Sirius on this one. He really does like to slow the game down, play around his rail, and Nyx plays into that playstyle perfectly. Then moving on to Awoken, we have the Ranger against the Strong. Once again, very standard matchup there. Not a lot to talk about. And then we end up on the Molten Falls, which is the BJ versus the Visor. Now, BJ is a little bit more of an unusual pick on Molten Falls. I like the Visor pick a lot there, and we've seen it becoming a bit more meta nowadays. Visor's coming into that zone. So favoring the Visor ever so slightly on that matchup, but otherwise I think it's a fairly standard draft throughout.
If I remember from the top of my head as well, Sirius did actually use the BJ on Molten Falls once before. I'm not sure if that's more just to complement his playstyle, because of course it's not really meta on Molten Falls, so to speak. But if he molds into his playstyle and he seems to be able to accomplish what he wants to do in terms of his strategy behind it, then fair enough, because it worked before. There's no reason why it can't work again. Interesting, we haven't seen a Athena at all, like not even in the banned category at all. Like we would expect maybe an Athena to either come up on Blood Covenant or Awoken. Both very good maps for the Athena to be used, but didn't see it at all, which was a little bit of a shock to the system.
She's fallen down a little bit since her slight rework, and because it just raises her skill level a little bit. You have to be a lot more conscious in the way in which you use her hooks and everything else. So we have seen her less and less this stage so far, but the players that can play her well, so the Vengers of the world, the Rafas of the world, obviously she's still a very top tier pick, but just a lot more difficult to execute, I would say, nowadays.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense as well. And Dan, I'm going to give you a prediction in terms of what you think so far. You talked about Xron and what he can do across the board. We know what Sirius is capable of any way, shape or form. In terms of predictions, what do you feel like how this is going to go? Because I think we would have said it was more of a tighter matchup if we didn't witness what Sirius did against Maxter last week. But now it could be more slightly in his favour in comparison.
I would agree. I just have to think on form and the amount of practice we see coming out from both these players. One would expect Sirius to push this to a 3-0. What I can say is that when Sirius's weaknesses get exposed, they're still quite significant. He's definitely come on a lot this season so far. So if Xron can play the basics well, get those items, he can definitely take a map away. I wouldn't expect him to take the series, but I'm still going to side 3-0 Sirius.
Ooh, 3-0. Oh, all right, Dan. All right, we'll see. See what happens then. Enough. Do you know what? Chat are literally agreeing with you. 79% now to 21. So I think they're either agreeing with what you're saying, Dan, or they're just listening to you and gone, right, whatever Dan says goes, and we're just going to put all our channel points into Sirius.
They're smart then, aren't they?
Well, this is it. This is it. You know, we need those highlighted messages, don't we? It's extremely important, as we're going to start off from Sirius's perspective here.
Yeah. No more full hand camp from Sirius either, so he's definitely playing Sirius mode. Nice rail coming out from the start. The way he plays around rail is so incredible, really. The positions he takes, obviously the accuracy he pulls out with it. It is, I mean, obviously many people think he has just got unparalleled aim, but the way in which he uses rail is not just great, it's incredibly smart as well. It makes him difficult to play against. A map like Blood Covenant lends itself perfectly. So Xron's obviously taking away the items, but yet to pick up a rail, so has to play slow.
Yeah, he certainly does indeed. He does have the Ghost Walk in his back pocket once again. He's going to back away to see if he can get another angle, but he'll be taking the brunt of that first shot from the rail from Xron. As he's going to use the Ghost Walk quite aggressively, and he has done. That's more of his style, but just a little bit too late. Maybe if, of course, he didn't tap behind the side of that wall, could have been different, but looking like he does pick up the Mega in time. He hasn't got any rail left, which is a bit unfortunate. Hasn't got any LG either. And hasn't had the LG for the majority of this game, of course. But hopefully we'll have a Ghost Walk in time before Xron actually does approach him once more. But heavy is up. That will be picked up by Xron anyway, as the items have segregated quite heavily early on.
Yeah, already seeing a very slow game between these two fronts. They're able to read Sirius quite well. Another Ghost Walk coming out there quite early. Ron's going to read it once again. Sirius is being able to backpedal and get away for now. Ron keeping the pressure on. Lovely conversion LG to rail. Ron started this game very stable so far.
Certainly is indeed, but Xron's having to take a bunch of that damage once again. Heavy's up, but it's going to be taken by Sirius, but at least Xron has the timing for it. See if he can get another angle, but he's in a good position nonetheless. He's only got one rail left though, which is going to be, of course, a key issue. Sirius looking to try and secure his first frag. Xron now just rotating back around, just playing mind games with the audio cues. He's under back once again. Does have to inject if he does get into a spot above it, but one might be able to catch him here. Gets him with a direct, so that's give him a little bit of a head start here, but he's only on 36 HP and has managed to get away, but for how long for?
How long for indeed? awkward engagement there. Hron not reading that. Sirius dropping down. A little bit delayed reactions from Hron, who's very much on the back foot now. Sirius able to keep the pressure on, connecting with these rails, forcing Hron away from these major items and also taking the lights to boot. So Hron's got nothing to work with. The inject is up, but doesn't want to use that because he realizes he is very much on the defensive. Gonna have to probably pop it now and get away, but he doesn't even able to get away, so that is extra painful to lose his inject and a frag. Doesn't even feel like he's got any timing at the moment. And as you said, the items are split wildly, so it's difficult to get back onto this map without either setting up a trap or getting a rail. At the moment, he's got neither. Sirius has got the timing. Face just comes out and actually lands on the Anarchy. He will be going down. Easy second frag for Sirius. 2-1, 3 minutes in.
Oh, can make it 30. Yes, he does. 2 for 2. Lovely start here from Sirius. He's going to try and continue and make it a third, but he's already hit that first rail. And prioritises the frag rather than the heavy, which is perfectly understandable. Doesn't catch him, but at least he has a good idea on where he could possibly be. Now, especially when he's directly underneath him, as he just buzzes on past. Megas go up in the next couple of seconds. Good timing as well. Has the ghost walk for, of course, in Sirius is his nature. For the aggressive purposes.
It's so difficult to defend any of these major items. You saw it in the previous Mega. Hron setting up early to try and defend it. But the fact that obviously Nyx has a ghost walk, if Sirius reads that positioning as he did, there's nothing you can do to defend that major item. And this is why it's so difficult without that rail, which he now has, to get into this map once again for Hron. But again, it's only 3-1 lethal. Plenty of time gap, but at the same time, he's got no major items.
You're not wrong, but he does bag the Mega in the end. Sirius is teetering on the edge of rockets to see exactly where he's going to land. He's not trying to feed himself a bit of info. Sprinkle of damage. But nothing as of yet. He's just getting in preparation for this heavy. Of course, he's going to have the advantage in terms of positioning. In that first rail would have been crucial, would have guaranteed that heavy. But the 71 from the Tribot Dan, yeah, that should be hopefully more than enough depending on what shots Xron can hit here. Actually hits one, but still needs to hit a couple more before we can get that fave, which of course is not going to happen. Just past the halfway stage.
Yeah, we can see the dynamic in which this game is playing out. Neither one willing to commit to any close range engagements. It's all being played around this pro with a little bit of Tribot spam for zoning. Incredibly slow, passive gameplay. And this is the way in which Sirius wants to play it. He wants to bait you into these rail duels. He wants to bait you into this angle play. Because inevitably, he'll end up winning that.
Certainly will do is Xron just continuing to try and do that enough chip in order to pursue. Get a better angle for himself, but not as of yet. So let's tag him though, but they've pretty much tagged each other at that point. His stacks almost equal. Sirius is just teetering on the edge there, but just continuing to hold that position, just playing the same game. Yes, sure, people may say it's been predictable, but it's a great advantageous angle, and yes, absolutely no reason to move or re-rotate as of yet until he gets a considerable advantage. As he does, hits the first rail, looking for the second, but Xron just manages to back away.
He doesn't realize he dropped down. And they found their rhythm in this game this far. Sirius on the heavy side of the map, Xron taking that Mega. The items are pretty much on even key to them now, so we'll continue to trade. And at the end of the day, Sirius is quite happy with the way in which this is playing out. He's not making any rash moves, playing very slow, very passive. Xron is respecting that as well, but Sirius has Ghost Walk. It's difficult to be able to close that gap and to make a play. Lovely Tribot coming out. Lots of dinks there, 80 damage. Ooh. And a rail. There is the inject. But at the minute, Xron's holding on to it.
Yeah, he certainly has.
Just going to keep trading.
Yeah, why not? Of course, Sirius doesn't need to change anything as of yet. I'm doing a good enough job as it is. He's having a bit of a lurk here, Dan, to see exactly what shenanigans he's going to be up to. Just finding directly above, hits that first initial rail, which means it's going to give him the opening to go for the Mega. He may not have time, of course, to go for the heavy straight afterwards, but at least he can reposition himself to contest it and maybe secure that full frag. Could be his game plan here. We'll have to see in a moment, but it looks like he will pick up the Mega, head straight for the heavy as is physically possible.
Yeah, I feel that Xron is trying to play Sirius its own game, and we'll get to that point where he needs to raise the tempo and he just needs to increase the damage output. Maybe move away from the rail, start using heavy machine gun, just has to wear down this Nyx Sirius is unwilling to commit to any fights. We're just playing this plus black game, defending the choke points. Here he goes aggressively. The Ghost Walk comes out. Ron has to make a play here. It's the first time he's been able to force Sirius into a fairly precarious position, and now he has to capitalize upon that. Here he comes aggressive. Sirius defending the choke point. Huge rocket comes up from Ron. Has to continue chasing. He knows that Sirius is weak and is running out of time. But he does double back to pick up that heavy. That gives Sirius a big lifeline to pick up this Mega now.
Yeah, certainly does. Quron's actually gone directly above and trying to pick up those hourglasses. He's only got 9 seconds until this Ghost Walk does reappear. Respawn rather, just tickling him at top of DLG. So good rocket damage as well to boot. It almost hits him with that rail. Almost skimmed his skateboard there. Is Sirius now going to get a decent amount of damage with that try. About 67 pushes the inject out for Quron, and again stacks almost equal once more as Mega's up in just a couple of seconds. Heavy is up and ready and waiting. Almost caught him with rail, but you're right there. At some point, Quron's now have to play over aggressive and play out position to try and secure some of these frags, but Sirius is doing a good job just keeping himself at bay distance and keeping that Ghost Walk ready in hand.
He has to get a frag in the next 20 seconds. It's the only way he's going to be able to at least tie up this game. And Sirius is playing still this plus back game, defending these choke points and slowing it down. Ron just cannot find an in. I think he knows exactly where Sirius is, but the question is, what could he do to get in on him? Big rail coming out. Here we go. One more opportunity. It's gone for the Mega that we actually second guess. He's gone the wrong way, and Sirius gets away. Does he hear him down below? The answer is yes. He's going to catch him. No! Sirius gets away for now.
Yeah, it certainly does. 30 seconds left. Sirius let him know where he is. That was his last rail as well. Just have to switch to the heavy instead, but does have the LG out ready, and she better take him out here. I'll be quite surprised if he does not. Left on 20 HP, but that's going to seal it here, Dan.
Yeah, and this is what we kind of said from the outset, the way in which Sirius wants to play. He wants to slow it down, he wants to play around that Ghost Walk, he wants to play the rail game, and he got his game. Ron was not able to change the tempo of that map, and said around 7, 8 minutes in, he should have been moving towards using maybe some wider hit scan, some heavy machine gun to try and change the dynamic, trying to change the tempo, but that was too little too late, and he let the time slip away from him, really.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate there in some areas, but he just played a very straightforward game of Blood Covenant, didn't he? Nothing too miraculous, nothing too unorthodox, really. Just playing to his advantage as a position and angles, and not really too much reason for him to do anything else unless he had a massive life lead, and of course to pursue and seal some of those frags overall. But he had great heavy control, great use of the rockets and the rail as well, just contesting both of the weapons anytime he sealed a frag against Quron, just to make his life a little bit of a misery throughout the first half, and of course keeping Quron guessing to try and adapt to what he could do. But it was very difficult as Sirius was playing quite awkward in a lot of ways. Of course, barely having to use that Ghost Walk and always having that in his back pocket, and of course just abusing those vials as he sees fit. But you were right though, you know, with a lot of times when there's a minute left, of course you do have an opportunity to bring it back to a 3 frags, but against the Knicks, you know, that's just not possible at all, considering the amount of vials there are on the map, and also with him using it for defensive purposes. But he uses some very aggressive Ghost Walks. We've seen it in the past, and one of the very few players who does use it for the aggressive purposes.
Yeah, he did, and it was nice. It was smart, and it's good to see him play that cerebral way. You know, he had the timing, he understood the positioning of Ron. That's what he needed to do. But Sirius did the basics well. He did what he needed to do, and he allowed Ron to play into his hands a little bit. So it was well played by Sirius. Definitely felt Ron should have been pushing the game a little bit earlier than he did. He respected Sirius too much. But this is also why Sirius is so difficult to play against, particularly on a map like Blood Covenant, with a Nyx in his pocket, because you're forced into a slower game and you're forced to play around that rail, and it's very difficult to beat him at that game.
Yeah, certainly is. We had a fantastic example of that, as you could say. Going into Woken now would be the Ranger versus the Strog, and then afterwards would be Molten Falls with the BJ versus the Visor. And I loved how he was using the BJ Molten Falls to his style and to his advantage as well. As like I said before, and I think we all know this, especially as some hardcore Quake fans see, it's not really a usual pick you would have for Molten Falls anyway, as normally you have, you know, so many slide champions, you know, some have a Nyx thrown in there. Visor can be quite a viable pick if you're running out of options in terms of champions as well. So it's nice to see that he's not really too fussed about what's meta, what counters, etc. It's just something what suits him really the best, and what he can obviously proceed with. But going to Awoken, though, we know how strong Ranger can be. Again, I think Strog's a very good pick nonetheless on Awoken anyway. But let's see what Xron can do to try and equalise this series scoreline as we go into map number 2. First series of the day between Sirius and Xron. And we're going to be starting things off. Whose POV is going to be? It's going to be Sirius once again.
Yeah, Strog's a very good pick on this map. Strog's pretty much a good pick on any map. I prefer Ranger ever so slightly, but, you know, Strog is incredibly good as well, particularly if you can use the Pika to full potential. And that's just an area I think some players don't play enough around when they play Strog. When we've seen Xron in the past, he's probably one of the more creative players when it comes to using abilities. So we'll see what he has with the Pika. Whereas the Ranger, as we know, just easy to execute. Rocket jump passive on this map is very, very good as well. And the orb is always strong.
It certainly has helped with Ranger's mobility, of course, as he goes and orbs on in, but slightly misses a jump, but it does not matter too much. But those few seconds have helped him out a little bit to try and catch his prey. He's hovering around top mid and rotating back round to rockets. So, of course, the items almost in sync, only by a second from each other. It's a matter of if they can have a gentleman's agreement or both go for the same, but it looks like they are both quite curious to see. They are both going for the heavier, but I think they've both got an inkling here, Dan, as both of them just literally teasing on the edge here. Misses that rocket, but of course Sirius is going to back away. Using the passive, as you mentioned before, and then going to pick up this Mega.
Yeah, I'm surprised Sirius didn't put a little bit more pressure on there, considering... Oh, lovely. Pika coming out, actually, keeping the pressure on. But no, I'm surprised Sirius didn't be a little bit more aggressive there, considering the position he had over Xron with the high ground. Instead, playing it safe, wanting to just play the basics well. And this is just Sirius's mindset. Oh. Safety first a lot of these times. Huge rocket coming out, can't connect with the rail, either one. They're both incredibly low. Xron is up early, but the Mega's not there just yet. Sirius working his way around to this heavy. And they'll be able to trade positions and trade major items. As I say, that Xron dropping in, but unable to connect. A little bit messy from both sides in the opening 2 minutes of Awoken.
Yeah, Mega's still up at the moment. Sirius was a little bit tempted to jump into that choke point, but it's backed away anyway, rightly so. Pika will be coming, just to feed us a bit of info. Maybe some cheeky damage along the way, which he will not. That's up at orb, mind you. Heavy is up. But of course, out of position for now. Unless he wants to jump down to the TP and try and tag him, but at this point, there's no need for it.
Xron's putting an offset on this as well, which is smart. Sirius is in position to hear that and to do some exit damage. Unable to connect with the rail. Too much respect in my mind from Xron. There was a big split between the major items. Could have taken both. Instead, you can see him playing Sirius at his own game once again with this distance. This distance rail, this distance spam. I want to see Xron using the skill set of the Strog more, using that speed, pressuring the items. Definitely could have been looking to take both major items there. And now he's actually on the back foot here. He's going to be on the defensive for this next heavy. Sirius working his way around. He is able to connect, and he catches it mid-Pika. Easy frag in context.
Certainly was. As soon as the orb came out, you just knew exactly what was going to happen and how the story was going to tell there. Heavy's going to be back up again in 15 seconds. Is good play from Sirius in terms of his advantageous positions. Just getting the high ground now instead of giving it to Xron. But of course, Xron prioritizing the Mega previously. Let's find him. Gets a little bit of damage done. Good use of the LG once again coming out from Sirius. Takes him out and makes that 2-0.
It's
nice
too easy.
approach. Yeah.
It's too easy. And Xron just didn't have timing, so I'm not entirely sure why he's pressuring that item, even taking that fight, when he's not going to win it if he doesn't have timing. And now he finds himself 2-0 down, which are actually 2 easy frags for Sirius that should never have been. Xron finds himself without a rail.
Yeah, he certainly does, and he's going to continue contesting that rail as well. So he gets there in the end, but damage has been done. Oh, catch him in the first. Looking to try and see if he can initiate a second, but I didn't go up on the jump pad. Just depends on how he's going to go back towards this Mega, but he's actually going to use the orb, and I love that as well. Perfect timing.
No, that's really, really smart by Sirius to get him another very easy frag here. The orb for this track, going up the jump pad so he doesn't get connected on the way through. Really smart play, and Xron looks lost, if I'm honest with you. He doesn't really look like he knows what he should be doing. He hasn't got timing of the items. He's just running around the map fairly aimlessly and taking the wrong fights at the wrong time. It's looking bad.
Certainly is, and I must say, Sirius's adaptation is really good. Kind of give me a little bit of a glimpse from the old days, from how Sirius performed. But yeah, he's been looking much better. Of course, he's known for mainly just a couple of things in terms of his positioning and his aim skill, but his adaptation seems to have improved quite a lot, over the course of time. It's just at halfway stage, as Xron does manage to get his first frag. Tries to use the orb, left on 47 HP. Does get cleaned up. Heavy's in the next couple of seconds, and Sirius is going to be bagging that. But of course, he needs to try and hit this next wave to stay alive. Yes, he does, making that 5-2 here, Dan.
Yeah, awkward, but gets the frag. Xron's going to come pressuring it again. His peekers have been really good so far. In fact, it's kept him in the game. Peeking around, he knows that Sirius will hit this. Just does enough, and this map is now turned into a little bit of chaos, which I'm sure won't be in Sirius's favor, but it's definitely working out for Xron so far. Once again, he's a little bit late for that heavy. It's twice in a row he's late for that heavy now. Gets away for now, but taking so much damage with that mistiming.
Certainly did. Let's see if it'll find him on the backside as he catches him. Some good rockets coming out from Xron, but Sirius is going to take him down, left on 25 HP. Mega's getting him up in the next couple of seconds, but I like what Sirius is doing here, not just standing on it or just giving himself away, considering how weak he was, and Xron could obviously bag the trade and the Mega, which is going to not pay dividends at all. Great rail coming out for Xron there. As now he's still got time. He's still got 3.5 minutes left. 2 frags behind. Definitely doable.
Definitely doable, but he has to clean his play up a lot. He's got no timing on the items, it looks like. So he needs to clean up that for sure. Can't give Sirius a free map. You can see him waiting on this Mega. It's nowhere to be found for another 15 seconds. Thinks the heavy's up. That's gone as well. Sirius should be able to punish this, and there it is, another easy frag. But you just, at this level, you can't do that. You just cannot do that.
Yeah, we're seeing the pure examples of this at the moment. He's literally chasing down his prey once more. There's a couple of rockets, but he's given and showing a lot of map presence.
Yeah, I get it. Like, all players lose timing, but you cannot afford to just stand and hope the item's coming. If you don't know what it is, you've got to take a smarter position, a more defensive position on the mid-ground.
Yeah, you're absolutely right indeed. Even though he's in this choke point, he does have to stack advantage, and the orb to boot. Good rockets coming out here from Sirius, as does manage to get him 8-4 now here, down 2.5 minutes left, and over the next minute and a half, it's going to be at the realms of possibility for Xron if he doesn't do something soon.
He's unfortunately just a little bit lost once again. He's missed out on the items, doesn't really have the timing. He's used his Pika to no avail. And that frag, the previous frag, was once again down to poor timing from Xron. And it's ironic we're talking about poor timing when Sirius is in the game. He's the one actually playing clean and clinical, something he's massively stepped up this season so far.
Yeah, certainly has done. The LG coming out from both players once again, but the LG looking very good. All coming out. He's tempted to see if he used the Pika once again. Oh, what a rail. There's a verticality, but Sirius just took it over the edge there. Stops him in his tracks as he's using that Pika. That's going to be a done deal here, Dan. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Oh my lord.
Just added more to the plate here, Dan. A couple more rockets, a shotgun to boot. It's not going to reflect the scoreline, of course, now considering what we've already seen. Minute left, and yeah, Sirius has been very clinical, and it's just made it some of these frags as clean as possible, and thinking a lot more about using these positions. Like a good example is what you mentioned earlier. Don't just stand around for these items. If you're not sure, you're worried about a trade, or you think you've mistimed it, then of course get an angle where you can back away and then decide exactly what you're going to get for the future. And at least you'll have the timing afterwards.
And this has been a distinctive mark of change in Sirius's play style throughout this season. Obviously, he's had to develop and learn just to play more cultured, and in the past he'd be far more focused on his opponent, their positioning and how to deal damage. He's shifted that mindset now towards map control and just more balanced approach, and you can see how scary he becomes with that. and he was punishing Xron for his mistakes instead. Every single time, Xron was standing on the item, not really understanding what it was. Sirius knew exactly what was up, played around it to perfection.
Yeah, look at that. Things have definitely spiraled out of control here. He's going to make... Oh, okay, it doesn't make it 16, but it would be 15-5 nonetheless, as Xron running out of ideas at the time, very early on in that match in terms of adaptation, and we'll have to see what he can do going into this third map, because I'm sure with the champion picks especially, of course, we know Visor's used quite a lot of Molten Falls, considering how many champions are left after the ban phase. But using the BJ, you know, this is something which is probably not used to or accustomed to, so to speak.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't think it makes too much difference either way. I definitely prefer the vision on this map in particular, if it's going to be a slow game. But, you know, the BJ is always useful. That dual is always useful, no matter what map we're playing on. It's slightly more difficult to execute than the vision, but still, particularly if you're in a close combat engagement like this, you pop it, it's free damage. So I don't think it's going to make too difference either here nor there. More important thing is, can Xron just focus, or at least refocus, get his mind on the items once more, because that was a huge letdown on this map.
Yeah, we'll have to see shortly going to that third map. And you know, you're right with how Xron's been performing so far. There is, you kind of witness it, and when you get some indicators early on in some of these series or some of these matches, it gets to a point where at some stage or sometimes it doesn't matter the map or the champion picks, you kind of feel like it's a little bit out of the question. So this Xron actually plays not totally different, but of course, like I said, a bit more micromanagement with his usual traits. Of course, you know, not just ammo management, but like I said before, the timings and how he does prep and progress for them as well. Molten Falls would be a little bit easier in terms of how large, in terms of the map scale is, but might not change the fact. But of course, preparation for the items will be a lot easier, especially with that piercing sight as well. But Sirius does have the dual wield and the damage in his back pocket as he sees fit. Sirius with a very good start to the season, also a great start in this series as well, trying to make this a clean sweep if he can.
He looks on form for it.
He does.
That's what I predicted, so, you know, I think it's going to happen.
So what you say goes, doesn't it, really?
Usually.
Well, to be fair, 99% of your predictions have been right anyway, so I'm not going to judge you now. As yeah, it really looks like it's going to be on the cards for now. And it's last time I saw Sirius play with that BJ, he looked incredible. Every time he had the advantageous position, especially with a shotgun on the heavy, or maybe just slightly above the mega, especially around rockets, he'll get it 9 times out of 10 anyway. And I think, you know, you made a few mentions about Sirius and how he's been performing just overall in his playstyle, and he's been looking very clean, very on form. He's not just hunting players down or giving away too many mistakes. He's not really giving too much away, which is going to make some of his players a lot harder to adapt to, which is great to see. And it's so early on in the season, it'll be exciting to see what to expect from him as we get to the later stages. And of course, the Great World Championships are now going to kick things off from Sirius's perspective once again. Over towards that light and pick up that mega a little bit late to throw off the timing.
Yeah, I think he's sitting at 3-1 this season, so this will push him to 4-1 already. The question is, can it be that 3-0 sweep? As you say, starting over on Sirius, doesn't have a rail just yet. Ron's defending that area, but when you have a heavy machine gun, you can still do a lot of damage.
Ready, very Sirius. Got a position for the heavy, just trying to rain down some rockets to make it a little bit worthless. 70 comes out there. Big. Lovely stuff coming out from Sirius. He's going to try and hunt him down if he can. Of course, doesn't have the rail, which is a little bit unfortunate, but cleaning up the heavy machine gun doesn't in time, as he had to get about 2 or 3 shots off there and also to finish that. But yeah, it was a little bit unlikely. But at least he's got a rail in his arsenal to use finally. We'll have to see how this goes for this next heavy coming up in 10 seconds.
There comes the dual wield. He's caught Xron out in the open, not able to do any damage just yet, and the heavy is not up for a while, Xron, so you're going to live and pray, it appears, but it just will not. And Sirius takes another easy burst frag, and there's a good use of the first dual wield.
Yes, and it was indeed 6 seconds between the 2 items, so give him time to contest the next one if he pursues the heavy first. Now, biding his time, yeah.
Normally you'd expect your opponent to be defending that rail, so Sirius gets unlucky there. He's in position early for this heavy armor. Xron having to skirt himself away after missing that rail, but sticks around for a second too long, and lovely positioning, lovely entryway from Sirius to take that frag. 2-0 lead. Xron on the back foot already. They'll continue to trade these items as the Mega and the Heavy were pretty much on the same timing, but still not a lot of differential between the two, so that's a bit of a lifeline for Xron. But you could just defend this rail area if you want to, almost indefinitely. Xron trying to force his way in. It's way too aggressive. He knows his opponent has a dual wield. Why?
Oh, I felt that. I literally felt that.
I don't know what you expect, really. You know you're playing serious with a dual wield and you just walk through. Maybe he was playing the long game for that follow-up, which he just got, but Sirius reads the positioning, goes in aggressively. Big rocket coming out. Oh no, the starting machine gun as well.
Yeah, dearie me, Mega's up though. Has been picked up by Xron. Sirius going to rotate back around. Of course, we're on to T2 and just playing the audio acoustics to see if we can get some information onto where Sirius is. Found him. Backing away once again, but Sirius realises that he's in no fit state to continue that engagement. Light will be up shortly.
Xron's got time to pressure this Mega. Coming through, Sirius is in the area, but he's not committing for it. But there comes a dual wield, and he's going to melt Xron, who just walks into death.
Deleted, and then the rail straight afterwards. He's now going to rotate back around. Has high ground once again. It's going to catch him a little bit off guard this time around in comparison, because he's been so used to Sirius being around shotgun, and Sirius decided to change things up a little bit, have a more of an aggressive attitude towards the Heavy, and it definitely helped him out by a fair margin. Sealing that 6th frag. It's the first, and now pursuing again.
Lethal, have you seen his LG percentage?
67%.
67% with dual wield. Oh my god.
I didn't even realise. I knew it was good, but I didn't know it was that good. 67% for LG, 71% for the rail. Mind you, it's only 7 shots, but to be fair, 67% LG is just nuts in itself.
Yeah, and Xron's changed the tempo of this match now, going aggressive, but it's not working out either way. As Sirius is just standing his ground and melting him. 65% LG now. It's absolutely nuts. Oh no, Xron, my friend. Let's call it. This is a white towel moment. Throw it in.
It certainly is. Like, I know with the dual LG, it does I think it's 1.4 damage in total, like over the span, but it feels like it's literally twice the damage, isn't it? With the way he just shows it off.
I think Sirius has looked at his percentages and now he's just playing for percentages because he switched to that MG when he thought he's going to miss. Oh no, 10-1. What can you do?
Not much here at this point. It's been unfortunate, but it's like I said before, you give him these opportunities to abuse his aim skill, he's going to take it, isn't he? Straight away. Xron does get his 2nd frag, but he's 8 behind at the halfway stage, and I can't really see if it's changing up, especially with him performing so well with his LG, the drive-by rails, how clinical he's been over the course of this game, and it's been extremely tough, but Sirius, yeah, puts an end to the small possibility here, 11-2, Dan.
Yeah, Sirius is just practicing his aim now. He knows he's won. He's It's literally that. It's a practice round for the last 5 minutes of this game. Xron is, I think Xron is fed up with this game. You can see him just trying to fight fire with fire now. He knows it's over. And Sirius is just racking up basically records in aim percentage for the QPL. 70% LG for a few seconds. It was just then. It's just, what can you do?
It's madness, because sometimes he preemptively uses the LG as well around corners, as you saw there, but still has that percentage. It's just disgusting, isn't it? It's pure filth how amazing his LG's been so far. And he's such a scary player. Like, if he gets in tip-top form with his adaptation as well, which we've been seeing signs of over the last few matches, there's no telling what position he could take at the later stages in this league, or maybe in the Quake World Finals.
This is it. I mean, there is still a long way to go for Sirius in terms of his overall game. As I said, when the weaknesses show, they're still significant, but he will continue to develop and continue to grow as long as he puts in the effort and keeps that focus. And I think the mental side of his game's always been an area of question. We haven't seen any detriment to that just yet this stage so far. long as he can keep that in check, then he's someone to be reckoned with, absolutely.
3 minutes left in play. Is Xron trying to... Something done here, but it's going to have to give up that heavy. So that's a 60, that's a 68. So Xron just looking to position himself to see if he can go around towards the rail hourglasses, but not going to happen. See, it's just darting back and forth for a moment to get an idea of where Xron could be, but looks like he's just playing it safe up top. Xron has an inkling he's there from his last audio cue. Does get greeted by him, gets greeted by a duel, a duel with SMG as he goes back through once again, catches him with the rail. Beautiful stuff from Sirius and great preparation.
But ultimately, this isn't the same player we saw in the qualifiers even, or the finals. This is a completely different player already, and we're already 6 weeks or so into the season. Huge strides in his development, and I said at the start of the stage, he's the player I think will develop the most throughout the season, and we can see. The question is, how far can he go?
So yes, indeed, he's going to try and catch him as he goes through that portal. Oh my God, Sirius, put the thing down, mate. We're going to get, we could have the duel with the LG to boot and finish him off with the shotgun as well. That's good. It was a done deal earlier, but he's pretty much sealed it here. Just a minute 40 left in play. It's Ron now just darting to see if he can test the Mega. Of course, he's just fighting just for the sake of fighting at this stage. He knows it's curtains. Yeah, Sirius, just incredible performance.
Don't know what to say. This is what happens. You can't just go at him. You got to play smarter than him. And unfortunately for Xron, he didn't do either today. Really remarkable performance from Sirius. I don't want to say it wasn't hard for him. He had to play well and he had to do what he did. But, by doing the basics, by keeping the timing, by doing the things he wouldn't have done as a previous player, he puts it all together and this is what happens.
And look at that, 64% LG, 75% rail actually. Make that 76, my God, Sirius.
Oh,
told you put the thing down, mate. You're taking the mickey now.
Yeah, well, good on Xron for still turning up, pressing plus forward, because it's painful. But we got to see a lot of lovely shots today from Sirius.
We certainly did indeed, and it's just not stopping at all. And messed up his rail percentage a little bit here, but doesn't matter. Sirius is going to take that, making that 22-5. I don't remember the last time we saw scorelines such as this on Molten Falls. Is going to try and continue to contest the rail as well as Sirius. My goodness, he's definitely shown a great introduction back into the Quake Pro League, even though we're going week 6 into it.
He is good at clicking pixels, that is for sure.
That's an understatement, isn't it?
Yeah.
75% rail, 63% LG. He fired 828 shots. He did 3,135 damage. That is unreal.
I genuinely don't think we've ever seen anything like that percentage in the QPL. And it wasn't as if he was just playing for it in the end. He was using it consistently. It was just, an aiming prowess from Sirius today.
Certainly is. He's been in the aim lab a little bit for forehand, of course. First match of the day here.
Yeah.
And to put on just a stellar performance. And, it's like you said before, we'll see how things go as the weeks go by. But from what we've witnessed, I'm sure what the viewers have witnessed as well, just incredible stuff here from Sis, just in terms of everything which is just fitting the bill in terms of what he's able to do and how he's able to adapt as well. It's just making things very tough for a lot of these players. And sure enough, he could be in one of those top 8 spots, we'll have to see, but definitely on the warpath here for it, considering he's now going, I think you mentioned 4-1 now, I believe. Yeah,
he's at 4-1, which is a really, really impressive performance, particularly when he's played some good players, as we said, beating Maxter last week. So on a bit of a roll, and this is what happens if you don't put all of the ingredients together and play your best game against the likes of Sirius. He slaps your cheeks, and Xron made a lot of mistakes. Let's not beat around the bush there, but Sirius didn't. And that's the point of difference for me. In the past, Sirius would have got far more concentrated on how do I do damage, how do I play safe, whereas now he's playing infinitely more cultured, and he's a scary player.
Yeah, you kind of feel like as well with Sirius's rotations and the paths he's take is, sometimes he may repeat some of the same rotations, etc. But if he's going to get those angles and the advantage every single time, there's no reason why he shouldn't change things up too much. So obviously, he changes little things here and there. Like, for example, instead of just sitting at shotgun willy-nilly and just waiting to defend the heavy or to drop a few rockets down, he will just maybe jump over straight to the nail and capture through the TP. Changes little bits of his gameplay here and there just to change things up. It's not a massive change in terms of path of rotation, but it's enough to really make a little bit more of a surprise attack for your opponent, as Ron managed to witness quite a few times. But with the scoreline, of course, Ron was just diving into a lot of those bouts towards the end because he knew there's nothing much he could have done, and just basically sealing that series right off.
Exactly, and like we've seen him in the past beat the likes of Rafa when he was nowhere near as good as a Quake player as he is now. So as he's putting all of these ingredients together, as long as he can keep his, as he said, keep his mental, keep in the game, he can upset anyone in this league, and he can really take it. And as far as he wants to take it, really, it's how much effort can he put in, and how much can he continue to focus on where he can improve. And we'll have to see. But I'm telling you now, nobody wants to play Sirius.
Nah, I don't think anyone does after seeing those percentages. But yeah, you're right, though. The percentages have been consistent for the entirety of it, no matter how uncomfortable he's been put back. It's just incredible. But of course, that's the first series done and dusted. We've got 6 more left to go for you guys in chat and everyone at home. But for now, we're going to go straight to a break. But our second match will be between the likes of Strong, Sage, and Kilson. So don't go anywhere, as we're back in just a few minutes.